Is everyone just buzzing?
Well, yes, no, 100%. And I one of the gyms that I call home is TriStar. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. What's it called? I also have a place out in out in Montreal. I train both TriStar and Titans Academy down there.
Nice.
So I'm really excited because George hasn't fought my entire career. We actually watched his final fight against Hendricks while we were in the Ultimate Fighter house. And so I'm really
excited. You haven't fought 4 years?
Give or take.
And you've been in UFC 3.5?
3.5.
There you go.
Just give or take.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting in the sense of all of the buildup that's going to happen. That hasn't been there. He's still been in the gym. He's still, he's
been training with you guys?
Oh, 100%. And he's also been coaching as well. Once or twice a week, he puts on the coaching hat and teaches us his bread and butter.
Yeah.
Wrestling. Who better to learn MMA wrestling than the MMA wrestling champ?
And he's a good coach, too. And he's a very cerebral guy. Yeah, great
sweetheart.
guy.
He's even nicer than he seems on TV, which
I
is
agree.
retarded.
He's the best guy ever. And so Firas is your head coach, who I think top, and there's argument for both, top 3 coaches of all time.
Yep.
Right now, as far as just MMA knowledge and like being so involved in the game and knowing striking, knowing the ground game, knowing wrestling. He's just such a good coach, man.
Yep. And one of the beautiful things that TriStar really encompasses is what brought me into mixed martial arts in the first place, the fighter's journey. I want to travel the world. I want to learn from the best, and I want to soak it all in. TriStar has that same mentality, and they're very open policy. They have a dorm system there where people come from, there'll be a low-key 9-0 Sweden dude that you've never known, or a guy from Germany that's 6-0, and they're like, oh, cool, my new toy for the week.
Yeah.
Break them and then send them back.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Not really break them. I'm half kidding, but it really is a beautiful environment that has a welcome door, and it's a very Canadian thing to do.
Super Canadian thing. And Firas was just I was blown away by him, man. We'd see each other around fights and stuff, and like I said, I was training at TriStar with George for a few weeks, man, some months, and he was just, I was blown away by Firas's knowledge, because him and people don't realize him and George were best friends. They came up together. Yeah. So it's not like, granted, he listens to what Firas says, but it's a very best friend companionship.
Give and take. Give and take. I think it's unique. A very give and take.
I think it's a perfect relationship for George in that matter.
Yep. And the beautiful thing with that is the idea of it was a product of its time, and he has been able to evolve since. We talked about, the sport evolving. I think what is very amazing with Firas is the sense that he's in the gym still, not only as the coach, but he's still training. And he
badass
straps
too.
He straps on the gloves and he'll go sparring with me. And he does that with all the pros specifically. So he's learning, growing, and never taking it idle.
And do you see because GSP from 4 years ago, if it's that same GSP that fought Johnny Hendricks and he fights the same way against Bisping, I think he loses. I love George. George is one of my favorite people. But we talked about evolving. That same George doesn't get it done.
Yes, and I think the three years has allowed him to decompress. I think when you're that great and have 7 years of a target on your back, he is strictly an OCD type person in the sense that when he won a fight and then found out the top contender, he couldn't enjoy the fruits of his labor. He's already like, well, I got to fight that guy in 3 months.
Yep.
So I can't really be doing this. So, he's been in the gym. He's been doing outside types of, the gymnastics and focusing on the sprint work and all that jazz. But I think the ability to enjoy the fruits of his labor has brought him back hungry. I think we can both agree that in many ways of the options, this isn't necessarily a safe choice, because obviously Michael is a champ for a reason. He's knocked out Luke Rockhold, which is the huge. I think it's one of the biggest upsets, especially when you add the fact that
7 day notice.
Yeah, a 7 day notice on set
in your homeland.
Yeah,
he was in Toronto on set on Fast and Furious 19.
Yeah, we had a couple of bears just not too beforehand. Yeah, we were just talking. He's like, blah blah blah. And he's like, I'm really enjoying the set. It's good. And even one of the times I was here in LA, it was a really surreal moment when he was kind of in a reflective moment of his career. It was a little bit before the actual fight. And to have this mentor talk to you and look at you as almost a peer, it was surreal. I was pinching myself. And then fast track 2 months later, not beating Luke Rockhold in the way that he did. And then, close fights with Henderson and then Anderson as well. I think digressing back to the conversation that I was bringing up, I think George fighting Bisping is not an easier fight, but you're not going to get hurt as much as if you fight someone like Anderson Silva, who, even if you lose, you might get really, really hurt.
Interesting. And so, because I think GSP's options were Woodley, which is a different animal than Bisping. So, Woodley, Thompson winner, Conor, which Dana said never really came up, but Conor, and then Bisping.
Yep.
Or Anderson Silva. See, I feel like out of all those, Anderson Silva is the easiest for him. The dad bod Anderson Silva right now, I think George could take him down, wrestle him. It wouldn't be an exciting fight. Bisping, and I want to get your views on this because you train with George all the time, but I don't see it as an easy fight for George, because you look at Bisping and his takedown defense is ridiculous. You look at, the Tim Kennedy wins, the draw with Rashad Evans, Chael Sonnen. Like, he's a monster to take down, and he is bigger than George.
No, it's true, but and I totally agree. And I'm friends with actually both of them, and I'm actually friends with, like I said, Bisping as well. And I'm looking for a great fight, and that's what I kind of how my thought process.
How do you see the fight going?
I can see. Obviously, with Bisping having the mat time, you can't take that away. We were talking about the 7 months that it took for me to get from the Sam Alvey win to the Caesar win. You feel it. You feel the distance.
Now, think if you're the main event,
main event, and probably one of the biggest fights. They're obviously going to stack that fight, that card to the wazoo, and it's going to be an amazing card. And you can't, like we said, you can't take away from the momentum. The feeling of not invincibility, but the feeling of the Cinderella moment for Bisping.
Yeah.
But I think George, if anyone is capable of being focused and sticking to a game plan, and whether fans afterwards will be happy about that or not, I think George is able to pull that off.
I agree.
But like we said, Bisping is almost impossible to take down. He never quits. Even when Tim Kennedy is not Tim Kennedy, Tim Kennedy obviously put him against the cage, but Henderson, even when someone like Henderson is smashing him,
and Silva knocked him out. He woke up and then won the next round.
Just put his mouth guard in.
I call him the English zombie.
Yep,
knocked out, won the next 2 rounds.
Yep. So you can't take that away from him. I think Bisping is the person that will make it a very. I say that GSP has the opportunity to come back and get a win in the way that GSP does. I think Bisping is the person that can push the pace and make it a more quote-unquote exciting fight with his toolkit.
Correct. And this is where it gets interesting for 2 reasons. To me, and the UFC needs stars right now. Like, they're predicated on stars. That ship does not go far without stars. So they put up the bat signal because Ronda, got murked. Brock Lesnar was like, I'm good. I'm going to stay in WWE. Makes sense. I don't blame him. So you have your 2 biggest stars out. Conor's playing grab ass with Mayweather. We don't know what's going to happen. That fight might happen. We'll talk about that for sure with you. But we don't know. But he's out. So your 3 biggest headliners are out. So I feel like WWE is like, what the fuck? What are we going to do, man? Put up the GSP signal. Put it up. Let's see if he answers. So to me, the only red flag there is, did they offer him so much money? And George was like, God, it's hard to turn down. Does he want to do it? Like, is it in his nature where he wants to compete? Because walking away from the sport for 3 years, especially after that Johnny Hendricks fight, and he felt disrespected by Dana, and then now he comes back. I don't know, man. Like, why come back, George?
I think, it
has to be money.
I think it's a little bit column A, column B. I think he's still only like 33, 34 years old. So technically,
some damage though.
Yes. And no one has, especially because he was a champion for so long and all those decisions, no one has taken more hours on work and hits to the head. And he does bruise like a Georgia peach.
Yeah.
So with that, there is some validity to it. But I think at the same time, everyone's got a price. People's prices are just different, right?
Oh, he called me. I'm like, I'll never fight. How much?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll fight Hunt.
Let's do this week. I'm ready.
Monster. Exactly. Yeah, I'll take Francis on. God damn it. Trying to get that house on the beach. Exactly. I'll do whatever.
Exactly. You can put another level on that house on the beach.
To me, I'm just a little scared as a friend of George's. Like, you didn't want to fight for so long. You always talk about the Under Armour deal. They're so desperate for stars. What did they throw at you? We have the same agent, so I'm going to find out. So they threw what at you to make you go, I'll take that fight. And then to your point where you're like, yeah, I think Michael Bisping's the easiest fight. They, because obviously George had a say on who he fights, so maybe they're thinking the same thing. And let's say he wins.
Yeah.
Then what?
Champion?
Hold on, Elias. You're telling me George could compete against a guy like fucking
Yoel Romero?
What then? What do we do? Run, George! Fucking run!
I am announcing I am going down to welterweight.
I thank you for the money. I am out. Yeah, like what are we gonna do?
Yeah, no, it does throw everything kind of up in the air, and it's one of those things where I guess we'll see. That's for better or worse what the UFC in some way has always been. It's reactionary. It's reactionary to these things. You can say that they built Conor, they built Ronda, but that was a reaction of this person coming here.
Correct.
So I think that's what the product is, and it's multiplied when you add in a talent agent.
True, and I will 100% buy the fight.
Me too.
And I hate on it a little bit, but it's very clearly to me a cash grab.
Well,
that's all it is.
Yes.
Because George's been off 4 years. Bisping fought. Let's go through Bisping fought for his title. He fought, he beat Luke Rockhold in 8 days. Then he fights old Dan Henderson. I love
Dan Henderson.
So let's get real.
Captain America anytime. But he does have that right.
I know, and he did land it, and I love that fight. But it's just like, and then he's fighting George St Pierre. Think about what it does think if you're Yoel Romero, Jacare, or Luke Rockhold. You're like, what about us?
Yeah, Jacare specifically. Jacare, I feel so horrible.
Think about Yoel Romero.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so it just puts it all on pause. So if you're a purist of the sport and they go, no, we get that, we're going to do George instead. It's like, dude, what do we do, man?
Sport entertainment. I told you.
You're right.
That's what it is.
And that's never been more true.
Yep.
And then, okay, so in this wild world we live in mixed martial arts, let's say George beats Bisping, which is a very highly possibility, right? Let's say that happens. Then what do we do? You don't have a champ. George won't fight at 85. He's not fighting Yoel. He's not fighting Jacare. I love George. I don't think he can do anything. But beat those guys at that level. It's just not for him.
Then we throw in Anderson. Then we
get a super fight with Anderson?
If we're going all in.
For the 85 belt?
Exactly. If we're going all in.
God damn it.
If we're going all in.
You got dad bod. All right. You might.
Yeah.
And then the other guys are just like, the other guys are like, all right, I guess we'll. But I can see UFC going, intern belt for you, intern belt for you.
Intern belts for everyone.
Yeah, party it up, man.
Yeah. When in Rome.
When in Rome. Fuck it. Let's see what happens. It's just, and like I said, I love the fight. I'll watch it. It just feels a little bit like a cash grab, and it just shows you that the rankings, they don't mean too much. Well, like you better figure something else out, man. If fucking Expendables 19 asks you to do it, you better do it, because then we can help sell some other shit. If Dancing with the Stars comes up to you specifically is like, hey, we need that main on fucking NBC, you're gonna start fucking moonwalking.
These hips don't lie.
They don't.
They don't lie, my friend.
Would you do it?
2 years jazz, 3 years tap.
Really?
Well, you can learn anything on YouTube.
Like, damn. Well, there's the sell.